Good Tuesday morning. Thanks so much for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Michelle Beck. Let's get to your headlines. New details in right now about a shooting in downtown Minneapolis that left a 14-year-old boy dead. The shooting happened near the Federal Reserve Bank on Hennepin Avenue. Police say it started as a fight among boys and escalated. One of them pulled out a gun and shot the 14-year-old. Shortly after 9 last night, officers found the boy on the ground after he was shot. First responders took him to the hospital, but he did not survive. Among the dozen teens roughly who are in this fight, the police chief says he's confident he will arrest the shooter. The city's latest homicide comes on the heels of a violent last week where at one point police investigated 5 homicides in 24 hours. Chief Brian O'Hara speaking out about the violence.
But the problem here is when teenagers have guns. And so instead of settling a fight with fists and that kind of thing, this has now turned deadly, taken away a life. I want people to know that, while it has been a tough week, the police officers here have been working hard. And we're going to continue to work hard, not only to bring those responsible to justice, but also to continue to try and prevent things.
The chief said officers actually knew the 14-year-old because he had been shot before, also because they suspected him of another crime. Also developing this morning, we're learning MPD officers were called to another shooting just hours later in the Elliott Park neighborhood. MPD says they found a 29-year-old man who had been shot. He is expected, though, to be okay. Right now, they have a suspect in custody. Chief O'Hara saying the 2 incidents do not appear to be connected. Right now, the accused gunman in last week's mass shooting in Minneapolis is being held on $2 million bail. James Ortley faced a judge and the victims' families for the first time yesterday. He's accused of killing 4 people last Tuesday and injuring another. Police believe the shootings were gang-related, and Ortley could be facing federal charges. Our Lou Ragoose was at the courthouse where he also met with the family of one of the victims.
He was a real good boy, you know.
Outside the Hennepin County Jail, Les Robinson solemnly shared about the loss of his son, 28-year-old LaRosse Rainey.
He left the house real happy, like he's going to go visit his friends, and told us he'll be home in a couple hours. Never came back. He was a good boy. He was a good kid. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved LaRosse.
Inside, Les faced his son's alleged killer, James Ortley, in the courtroom.
What he's going through now, and I know he's never going to get out again, so. A lot of people wish him dead and everything like that. I wish what he's going through right now.
Rainey was one of 4 people who died after being shot inside of a vehicle last week. The criminal complaint says the victims knew Ortley and were family friends. Les says that wasn't the case for his son.
No, he didn't. He did not know him.
According to police reports, Ortley was arrested in February on suspicion of aggravated robbery as part of a crime spree that included this high-profile incident where a group of burglars fired at an onlooker in a window, hitting him in the face. But Ortley was not charged and was released after a 36-hour hold at the jail. That's something Les believes was a mistake.
Just knowing his background, they should have kept him in.
Minneapolis police have called last week's fatal shooting gang-related. They said the shooting the very next day that left 1 man dead was related. 3 people are now charged in that case, although they have not yet been found. The criminal complaint does not explain how it was connected to Ortley's alleged crimes.
Well, Minnesota, we know, is now 1 month away from a huge step forward in opening its first recreational marijuana shops. On June 5th, the state's Office of Cannabis Management will hold its first lotteries for business licenses. That also includes growers, manufacturers, and social equity retailer applicants. One person who's already been pre-approved and runs a CBD shop in New Brighton thinks they can start selling pot as early as July.
I cannot believe that this is where we are at right now. But at the same time, I'm just happy that we're here finally.
Well, some are concerned there will be licenses, but no pot. Potential growers had a chance to start cultivating it early last year, but the state nixed a licensing lottery due to legal challenges, putting the supply chain behind. A look from the White House this morning, where President Trump is hosting a key player in his tariff tug of war today. That's Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. The face-to-face comes as the relationship with one of the United States' strongest allies has soured amid this ongoing trade war. The president is now threatening to put tariffs on all foreign-made movies. NBC's Alice Barr is on Capitol Hill with details.
Hi there. The shakeup in the U.S.-Canada relationship, the closest of allies, has put a spotlight on President Trump's efforts to remake global trade and the relationships that make up those partnerships. Today's first ever meeting between Canada's new leader and President Trump could offer a reset. President Trump sitting down today with Canada's new prime minister amid hopes to dial down trade tensions between the neighboring allies.
I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does.
Prime Minister Mark Carney campaigned on standing up to President Trump over his new tariffs, including on Canadian steel and aluminum, and his frequent references to Canada becoming the 51st state.
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen.
Ahead of today's meeting, Carney posted this video of his D.C. arrival, promising to work with the U.S. to strengthen both countries. The Trump administration signaling trade deals with foreign leaders could start rolling out in the coming weeks, though China appears deadlocked with its 145% tariff on imports to the U.S. As President Trump again acknowledged some prices will go up for U.S. consumers in his quest to remake global trade.
You said dolls could cost a couple bucks more.
Maybe they might.
Senate Democrats pressing for legislation to exempt small businesses from tariffs.
Trump's tariff tax is jacking up prices, smashing supply chains, forcing small shops to raise costs, lay off people.
As Hollywood grapples with the president's not yet finalized proposal to slap tariffs on movies made outside the U.S., many fearing that would hurt an industry battered by COVID, strikes, and recent wildfires. Production has increasingly moved overseas, with foreign nations offering financial incentives. Tax incentives here, something advocates like California's governor argue would better restore U.S.-made movie magic. On immigration, the Trump administration is offering new incentives to migrants who are willing to self-deport, including travel assistance and a $1,000 stipend. The Department of Homeland Security says that's much cheaper than the $17,000 it costs to detain and deport. President Trump says some people could then return to the U.S. legally. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
A look over Minneapolis this morning, where today Mayor Jacob Frey will give his State of the City address. He's expected to talk about his key priorities, including community safety, police reform, and affordable housing. Frey will speak from the Abyssinia Event Center starting at 11:30. You can watch it live on the city's YouTube page. In a new court filing, St. Louis Park City Attorney says Julia Ramos, who's suing her neighbor over a basketball hoop on a driveway, has no real argument. The city says the hoop complies with zoning and codes, and the suit goes too far in trying to stop kids from playing on their property. Ramos says the kids were playing in front of her kitchen and frequently had to get balls from her property. It's a situation she claimed created a safety hazard. In just hours, Target Center will be packed as the Wolves take on the Warriors in Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals. This round 2 matchup pits Anthony Edwards against Steph Curry as both teams fight to stay in the playoffs. Our Audrey Russo is here with a look at what you can expect if you're heading to the game.
It's going to be a beautiful night in Minneapolis for a round 2 of the playoffs, but be forewarned that some of the best parking spots may actually be taken by baseball fans. There is a Twins game happening at 6:40, but it all leads up to that main event at 8:30, tip-off at Target Center between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors. The Timberwolves are trying to snag the first win of the round 2 playoff series. They need your help. Take a listen.
Bring the energy.
Bring the energy. We're going to need you.
Nas Reed, everybody show your tattoos and be loud.
That post on X setting the team up for a big home court advantage against the Warriors. Tickets for Game 1 of this best-of-7 series are on sale. When I looked at Ticketmaster, the cheapest seats that I could find were around $130. Now, the betting odds for this hyped matchup came out in the last 24 hours. The Timberwolves are favored with a 71% chance of taking the W. Whoever wins this best-of-7 matchup will go on to the Western Conference Finals. Doors at the Target Center open about 90 minutes before tip-off. So by dinner time, we're going to have Twins fans, Timberwolves fans, Nature fans just enjoying the beautiful weather. So it's important to get here early. Maybe expect trouble finding a parking spot and some delays, but all in all, it's going to be a fun night. Back to you.
And stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.